Hello, I'm David Roger, General Counsel for the Las Vegas Police Protective Association. We've discussed in the past a couple of cases dealing with the execution of search warrants and detaining individuals. We talked about the U.S. Supreme Court case in Michigan versus Summers, which held that you may detain the occupants of a residence, people who are there in the residence at the time that you execute the search warrant, because it is really just a minimal intrusion upon them since they're already in the residence, and the benefit to law enforcement is great. We've talked about the Nevada Supreme Court case of Proferis v. State, in which the Nevada Supreme Court says that unless you have reasonable suspicion to believe that people who are coming up to the residence while you're executing the search warrant have committed or about to commit a crime, you can't detain them. And so they distinguish Michigan versus Summers. Here's another scenario. In this particular scenario, you freeze a location in order to get a search warrant, but you don't have a search warrant yet. Can you detain the individuals? And so I'm going to talk quickly about a U.S. Supreme Court case, Bailey versus United States. That case came down after Michigan versus Summers. And in that particular case, the occupants of a residence had left before officers executed the search warrant. And they chased them down about a mile away and brought them back to the residence. And the U.S. Supreme Court said that Michigan versus Summers deals with that minimal intrusion of the occupants of the residence, the minimal intrusion of their privacy and their liberty rights because they're already in the residence. They refused to extend Michigan versus Summers in that Bailey case and held that going and bringing the occupants of a residence back while you conduct a search warrant was an unreasonable seizure. The 11th Circuit case dealt with a scenario that we've just discussed, and that is, can you detain people while you go get a search warrant? You don't have the search warrant in hand. And in that case, U.S. v. Watson, a Fourth Circuit case in 2013 at 703 F3rd 684. Watson worked at a convenience store, and police believed that there were narcotics transactions taking place inside the convenience store. They had no reason to believe that Watson was engaged in drug sales. They didn't have individual reasonable suspicion, and so they froze the convenience store and went and got a search warrant. But while they're obtaining the search warrant, they detained Watson for over 3 hours. The Fourth Circuit, in analyzing Michigan versus Summers and other cases, said that it was an unreasonable seizure for Watson because there was no reason to believe that he was involved in drug transactions. A judge had not signed the search warrant yet, which was important in their decision. No evidence or no indication that Watson would destroy evidence in the convenience store. They could have just let him go. And so the Fourth Circuit held that it was an unreasonable seizure of Watson, refused to extend Michigan versus Summers to that scenario, and therefore the case against Watson was thrown out. I think that based upon the cases that we have discussed, the Nevada Supreme Court case, it says that you need reasonable suspicion to detain someone who's coming to the residence. I think that the Fourth Circuit's reasoning is appropriate, and it would be, my opinion, my advice to you to follow that. And so if you freeze a location, unless you have reasonable suspicion to believe that the occupants or the people there are engaged in criminal activity and you can articulate it, you can't detain them if you don't have a search warrant yet. And so I hope this helps with any search warrants that you may execute in the future. If you have any questions, contact me at droger@lvppa.com, but please review all 3 of these videos together so you get kind of a complete understanding of the different scenarios that might occur when you're executing a search warrant or you're about to get a search warrant and there are citizens in the area. Thank you.